Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's a bonus episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Chris. I'm joined with my co-host, Zack and Emmett. And we're back doing another football position room breakdown for you guys to get you ready for the football season that starts in 20 days now, which is crazy talk. So today we're going to be breaking down the running back room for you, who's in it, what we've seen, early thoughts maybe on the roster and what we're going to maybe expect, and then just kind of talk about the running back room as a whole. And then, we're just doing the one room today, so we'll get you out quicker than hopefully normal, and then be back with another one next week for you and talk about some defensive players maybe. So, Zack, Emmett, appreciate you joining me again, like always. I'll just run through here, and let's start with the roster. Who is on there? So we'll start there. We have transfer and senior Elijah Toliver. We have Mekhi Frazier returning from last year. Brandon Tullis returning from last year. Freshman Jace Clarizio, East Lansing High School native. And then we also have Chris Williams, Darren Jones, Zion Gist, and Jackson McCraig listed at running back as well. So that is the room. A lot of returning talent from last year, but younger talent, I should say. I know Tullis and Frazier didn't get a ton of work last year, but they did see some. And Clarizio was the recruit we had worked our butts off for and flipped last minute from Alabama at the closing of last year's recruiting cycle. So it was a big get to get him to stay home. Highly talented as well. And then adding Elijah Toliver for some experience. Those are probably going to be your main four, in my opinion. You will see some others sprinkled in maybe to get some work. Jace, potentially, I mean, with a freshman, you always have the potential that maybe he redshirts and you save a year, but I think he might just be too good to do that, and you'll see him get enough game action to not be able to. Maybe not. We'll see. The coaching staff always has some other plans potentially, but I just think he's really supremely talented. So hopefully he can get some reps. I think he's really quick too. I think he's going to be one of our more faster players, I guess I should say. So Zion Gist as well was another freshman that we got from last year. I don't know if he's going to be getting much as far as playing time this season, but I think he's a piece in the future that you could see really, really develop as a potential running back. So just my quick thoughts on the roster breakdown. I'll pass it over to Zack and Emmett. And guys, what are your thoughts about how this room's shaping up and what we're looking at for this year?
I think if you're talking about kind of the two position groups, especially one for the offense, that is really kind of the biggest question mark of this team is the running back room. Obviously, like you talked about, Chris, you have a couple of guys coming back from last year, didn't get a ton of playing time, obviously, because of the guys that they had in front of them. You have Toliver coming in from Sacramento State. Obviously, little bit of a up in competition from Sacramento State. So we've kind of seen how that's kind of gone. Maybe it might take a little bit longer to kind of adjust to that. Obviously, Jace Clarizio coming in, there's a lot of hype around him, but being a freshman, you never exactly know. But kind of with the whole college landscape right now, you might want to give him quite a bit of run and just see how it goes. But I think this really roster, this position, is going to be won by committee. I think we've seen from MSU in the past couple of years, or just kind of in the history of MSU, it's been really kind of one or two running backs for the most part. There's been obviously running backs like Le'Veon Bell that's kind of taken the bell cow kind of approach where he's going to run, he's going to have like 300 rushing attempts on a year. I do not expect that whatsoever. I think this might be one of those positions and years where it's like whoever's hot, whoever's running really well, who's ever playing really well, who's ever hitting the holes correctly, who's ever just playing good that day will probably get the majority of the carries, which if you think of it as a whole, is that the most exciting way to do it? No. Is that an approach that can work and we've seen? Yes. And I think it really is going to obviously be dependent on offensive line. I think it's going to be dependent on just who can hit the holes correctly. And it's going to be an interesting group. It's the biggest question mark, but there's some potential there. And I think there's some possibilities of having some of these guys step up or maybe having a freshman like Jace Clarizio kind of be the player that a lot of fans think he is.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Zach said. I think my bold take this year is that you will see instead of having like one running back with your 200 to 300 carry mark, I think you're going to see 4 running backs with north of 45 carries this year. That's an average of just under 4 per game. And I think you are going to see Tolliver might get the reins to start just because he has the most experience in college. Everyone else returning in that room has 12 or less carries at the collegiate level. Tolliver is transitioning from the FCS though, so you do have that question mark. He did inherit the reins from Cam Scadaboo, Arizona State star. He was the next running back for Sacramento State. Just something to note. Overall, just looking at this roster, I think Tolis is going to be your power back. He had that veteran leadership and experience. He will be probably the one calling out protections if it's not Tolliver on the field. He'll be the running back identifying everything in terms of what the running back see. And then I think Mekhi Frazier, kind of more that shifty back as mentioned by the coaches multiple times. I think Frazier could be your dark horse to potentially take the reins to start it. And then Clarizio, the freshman, is just the exciting player. He is going to be, if there's any one player I have to pick in this running back room who has the most potential to be your bell cow running back, if not this year, say 2026, 2027, Clarizio is my answer. I think that he's not going to redshirt. I will say that right now. From everything I've heard from fellow players, from the coaches, Clarizio will not redshirt. If he redshirts for anything besides an injury, that will be a massive shock to me. Just looking at this team, Clarizio is also up 17 pounds. He's more in that Big Ten running back size, which is what you really want. He's at 208 pounds now. You want to be in that 208 to 220 range. Last year, 5 running backs had a carry for Michigan State. 3 of those have graduated or moved on from the program, those being K'Ron Lynch-Adams, Nate Carter, and JoJo Martinez. Martinez only got a carry against Prairie View A&M, if I'm not mistaken. So, just looking at this group, you're going to see 4 running backs getting carried this year. Those 4 obviously not going to obviously not going to redshirt or anything. So you have the senior with Tolliver. Then you have the 2 true sophomores in Frazier, Tolis, and Clarizio. Those are your 4 backs by committee. I would say right now I'm kind of leaning towards you potentially see Tolis starting the year, in my opinion. You just have more of that power back just because you don't know what your offensive line necessarily will bring you once you stop playing your own team and start playing once you start playing competition as opposed to scrimmages with your own team. And then I would definitely say you see the other backs all contributing. Wouldn't be surprised if you see something like, I believe Sheehan pointed this out in his podcast for Locked On Spartans. You might see 12-8-5-5 week 1. Just in terms of how many carries each running back gets. You might see a 12-8-5-5, a 12-12-5-5. Just a running back by committee, no clear answer. And then as far as the other players on the roster outside of the 4 main contenders, I do think Darren Jones is a player I'm relatively high on for a walk-on, true freshman walk-on. He will be redshirting. Very productive for Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Question just becomes when he doesn't have the state champs blocking in front of him, which obviously step up in competition. You're going to start playing the guys who were the state champs from their own schools every week. Obviously, there's going to be questions there. Jackson McCaig is also another experienced back. He is freshman redshirt, averaged like 181 yards per game for Plymouth High School. Obviously, Plymouth High School, yes, they are a higher up school, but not exactly the best competition in Michigan high school ball terms. McCaig is the guy, I could see him being that JoJo Martinez and getting 1 or 2 carries against Youngstown State. Same thing with Chris Williams. I could see him also getting a carry or 2 at the end of that Youngstown State game, maybe Western if it gets out of hand. And then I would say Zion Gist is a player. He was injured his senior year of high school, which is why MSU waited to offer him. They gave him an offer after his first playoff game when it was clear he had returned to form for Lincoln Way East. I do think he will take another year because I think he could have definitely gotten up to that. He was a low 3-star. I think he could have been that mid to above average 3-star in terms of you're looking at maybe an 87, 88 grade. I believe he was an 85, 86. I definitely think he could have been that 87, 88 range if he was able to be healthy for his entire senior year. Obviously, not something he could control, but that's just. I think that he is a great piece for the future. I don't see him necessarily getting much beyond, once again, maybe 1 or 2 carries at the end of that Youngstown State game, that end of that Western game. But I don't see much beyond that just because of how this running back room is. I'm very excited to see how it plays out. But like I said, my prediction right now, give me Tola starting week 1. And then I would say the other big prediction is Corizio does not redshirt, which I don't think is that bold of a prediction.
Yeah, I didn't really think he was going to redshirt. You get weird with some of the freshmen sometimes, but
if scrimmage happens, then if say during a scrimmage he gets an injury, obviously things will change fast. If he gets an injury, misses the first 4 weeks, it might take him another 4 weeks to get back to where the staff feels comfortable playing him. Then all of a sudden you're sitting at only 4 games played just because of that.
Yeah. So you never know, but I definitely think he's talented enough to stick on the roster. I do like you said, Darren Jones is a potential of somebody I think who could also be, more relevant later on, but I think he's got a lot of tools that could develop. Also, a lot of Orchard Lake St. Mary's guys on this roster. I know another standout from that team last year in Bryson Williams. I know he's going to be playing mostly wide receiver for the Spartans. I was going to say, you can probably see him maybe potentially be utilized in different ways too, and get some carries or some jet sweeps or however you want to run it. Because he did play some running back for Orchard Lake St. Mary's and has a comfortability of running with the balls. He's just a dynamic athlete and playmaker in general, so I could see them trying to come up with ways of getting him the ball and feed him a carry or a reverse or something just to get him a touch elsewhere than the passing game. So
by the way, got to mention the fullbacks while we're talking about those running backs. I would say fullback, obviously Jay Coyne. I could see a Kai Rios, a Jax Wilson, or even Jackson McCaig, perhaps seeing a snap or two at that position, depending on how injuries or what you want to see for different groups, maybe pulling Jay Coyne aside for special teams talk. I could definitely see a Kai Rios, a Jax Wilson, or Jackson McCaig getting that 1 or 2 snaps, kind of like how Ty Neal Hopper did last season.
Yeah, especially if the tight end room stays healthy. So you might look to utilize them in other ways too. The ones that are maybe not necessarily at the top of the tight end depth chart, but you can line them up at fullback and get them some carries or some at least blocking reps. And
I don't think Coyne had a carry last season.
Yeah, no. MSU doesn't utilize a fullback a whole lot in ways that you saw teams used to, but
fullback carry Max Rosenthal in 2019.
Yeah, so but I mean it's college football in general nowadays. Even NFL football, you don't see a lot of fullback utilage anyways, but all of those guys are really good at blocking. It's kind of what you use a fullback for nowadays, but if you wanted to do quick carries or stuff like that, potential. I don't say it's going to happen, but it's potential. That's. I mean, Emmett kind of hit it on the head as projections. I assume Tullis is going to be kind of the main feature back. I do think Tal Tolliver, with his experience, will get a lot of looks. If he maybe struggles with the step up in competition, you see Makai Frazier, Jay Sclerzio getting more than what we initially expected. But I think
didn't say that outright, but yeah, Frazier would be your third down back. The guy with shiftiness upside in the pass game.
Yeah, he's a pass catcher.
Too, if you have 2 backfields too.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think the bulk of the early down work will probably go to Tullis and Tal Tolliver. That was a lot of T's in there. But then you have, Jason and Makai doing maybe some later down work and some just scatterings in. Like I said, if injuries happen, you're obviously going to see a shift in that. If, just bad play or step up in competition doesn't quite translate, you need a little bit more time. obviously you'll see it shift. Those four, I think we're all pretty comfortable in saying are going to get the majority of the carries. And then the rest of them, you can sprinkle in carry here, carry there. If games get out of hand, you could see them get more work. But yeah, that's all I really got. Zach, did you want to add anything before we head out?
No, I think you guys hit it. I think those four will be the ones that are contributing. Hopefully, obviously, stay healthy for the most part. But I think it's going to be those four that are going to be the ones that are going to be impactful on this team. And it just depends on the coaching staff, just depends on what they want. I think we all have an idea of like who's going to be involved. The question is where are the carries going to go? Who's going to play when, and I think that's the biggest question mark at this point. But I think those four will be the most impactful.
Yep. And definitely just to kind of wrap it up, I think you'll see the games like the Western game and maybe the Youngstown State game to get that figured out. You may see some different splits or, different things just to kind of figure out who your guy is going to be. And then
I think the Boston College game will be very telling for how you expect conference play to, at least an early glimpse for conference play. Because obviously, for example, looking at the Prairie View game last year, we played 3 running backs and 5 tight ends on the first drive.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you're going to see different looks and everything. For those games, you're going to see a lot more base offenses. So I think the Boston College game is going to be the one where I base most of my depth chart prediction. Depth chart prediction heading into conference playoff.
Agreed.
Yep, same. So we'll see, and obviously we'll talk more about that as the season is unfolding and how we expect the breakdowns to continue. But yeah, that's kind of your preview into the running back room. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like these little 15, 10-minute breakdowns of these position groups, let us know. We want to try to start doing some more shorter stuff. That way, if you don't have the time to fit in a full episode of our news, then you can check these things out. So if you like what you see, any comments, questions, concerns, hit us up in our socials. We'll be back next week with another one of these after our main episode. I'm probably doing a front 7 breakdown or maybe even the secondary we still got to hit as well, which is a big group. So we got some more roster to go in 20 days till the season starts. So we're all getting pretty amped up. So appreciate everybody. Have a great day and go green.